Ecotourism is an expanding enterprise, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa, where there is a great variety of biomes and wildlife and a great number of resources. Generally, ecotourism is an alternative form of tourism that typically seeks to leave a minimal impact on the environment, promote conservation, and positively impact local host communities. Sub-Saharan Africa has become an increasingly marketable vacation spot and generally targets wealthy Western consumers. Currently, and in the past, ecotourism has significantly impacted local communities. One of the best examples are of the Maasai of Tanzania and southern Kenya. The Maasai are typically identified by their bright red clothing and colorful beads. They lead a semi-nomadic lifestyle, herding cattle across the Serengeti Plains, as their belief system stipulates that God sent all cattle to the Maasai. Unfortunately, many Western voices have called for the expulsion of the Maasai from conservation areas and wildlife parks because they were thought to pose a threat to the natural habitats. The growth of tourism has only exacerbated land issues for the Maasai. The history of land right issues began in 1900 when the first International Conservation Treaty was drafted in London. In Tanzania, German colonists established 13 game reserves by 1912. After World War I, Germany was forced to surrender Tanzania to Britain. Then beginning in 1951, the Serengeti National Park was established, followed by Ngorongoro Conservation Area, and finally Arusha and Lake Manyara National Parks in 1960. The parks and conservation areas came with strict restrictions for hunting. Those areas that could be hunted required expensive hunting permits. This prevented all Africans from hunting as they could not afford the permit. In 1959, the National Park Ordinance expelled the Maasai from the Serengeti and moved them to Ngorongoro Conservation Area, where they remain today. Today, Tanzania aggressively seeks expansion of the tourism sector, which currently accounts for approximately 14% of the country's GDP. In 1999, the government drafted tourism policies with the objective to promote the economy and livelihood of the people, alleviate poverty, and encourage the development of sustainable and quality tourism that is culturally and socially acceptable, ecologically friendly, environmentally sound, and economically viable. Even with this ideal in mind, there are still many challenges of ecotourism. Often, ecotourism companies do not genuinely embody the principles of ecotourism, nor are they held accountable to the standards of ecotourism. Words like ecotourism, responsible tourism, and eco-friendly are labels that are liberally used in advertisements, making it difficult to discern between companies that truly practice ecotourism from those that do not. Villages and local communities often lack the capacity to negotiate business arrangements such as land concessions with companies. Overall, there are both positive and negative impacts of ecotourism. Recasting the environment as a way for local communities to profit and protect their future encourages them to look after it. In Uganda, hundreds of locals supplement their income by working as rangers or field staff in the windy, impenetrable forest. Local communities are also empowered and motivated by ecotourists who wish to experience local culture. Negatively, letting tourists loose in delicate ecosystems can lead to pollution, decreased fear of humans amongst wildlife, or impact the environment in unforeseen ways. Typically, the environment is effectively prioritized above the needs of people such as Maasai. The importance of local culture is also degraded by the transformation of cultural symbols into commodities sold to visitors. Although it becomes ever increasingly important to protect ecosystems as human populations expand and exhaust resources, it is equally important to keep in mind the lives of the local communities that inhabit them. Ecotourism is a great way to promote sustainability, protect wildlife, and alleviate poverty, but only if the companies and governments involved are held accountable to ecotourism standards.